Finally, the Sun Agitating Mercury. Talk about an Avasta you need to learn about, because Sun Agitating Mercury is the most common Avasta you're going to find in the horoscope. It's when the Sun joins Mercury. That's about 1/3 of the horoscopes. It's the most common Avasta you're going to come across. Wow, think of that. And it's really such an interesting thing, because when the Sun agitates Mercury, it's also causing Buddhya Aditya Yoga. Okay? Which means Mercury Sun Yoga, basically. But you also can say it's, I won't get into that, but basically what that yoga does, it gives you a high level of capacity or skill in something. It makes you really good at something. What something? Look at what house it falls in. Look at what house Mercury rules. Even look at what house the Sun rules, okay? But especially the houses Mercury rules. You're really got an ability for that, okay? So it's a plus in that context. But then at the same time, the Sun is agitating Mercury. And it's such a funny thing, because what is Mercury all about? Mercury is about trying things. And Mercury is the planet of communication, the speech giver. What that means is the most basic ways in which we try something is through communication. By asking, do you want this? It's the most basic way. By communicating. Okay? But what happens when we got a Sun agitating Mercury, a Sun-Mercury conjunction, is Mercury doesn't communicate a lot of the time. He just decides this is the right way, and he just does things that involve other people without asking them if they want it. You know, instead of saying, you know, say you've got a person, this is a really common way you'll see it. Say you've got a person and they come to your house and you don't wear shoes in your house. A real simple example, okay? You don't wear shoes in your house. And somebody comes over and they wear their shoes. They don't notice that you took your shoes off. They just start clumping in there with their shoes. And you, of course, decide to control them. Oh, you have to take your shoes off. So now you're controlling them. Okay? You have to take your shoes off in my house. That's control. It's not communication, that's telling them. Communication is always a two-way street. And of course, you can easily say that with a tone because you're frustrated. That maybe can come off a bit cruel. Okay? But the communicative way to do that would be, do you want to know how I keep my house clean? Do you want to know how I keep my floors shiny? Do you want to know how you can keep your house cleaner with less vacuuming? I mean, you just ask this stupid, funny question, right? That's what Mercury's all about. He has a sense of humor. Wouldn't that be a funny thing if someone said, do you want to learn how to keep your house cleaner when they walk in with your shoes? And they'll go, yeah, of course I want to learn how to keep my house cleaner with less vacuuming. You say, well, just take your shoes off, you know? And if they say, oh, I don't want to take my shoes off, then you can say, why? And they're like, well, I don't know. I don't like my feet to touch things. They'll say, well, do you want to know how to improve the health of your body? And they'll go, yeah, well, by having barefoot on things, it actually helps the health of your body a little bit. It grounds your electrical system too. So it's like, now you have a communication, you have a conversation with a person. You're not just telling them something. You're asking them, do you want to something? Communication, good communication, always starts with, do you want to something? I remember one of the people I had the most pleasure ever spending with in my entire life. They had a Venus-Mercury conjunction in Cancer. So they had a star of Mercury, okay? But the moon was right next door in, oh gosh, can't remember now, in Gemini or in Leo. So it was right next door to Mercury. And that means the moon had no aspect on it. And so even if it was waning, it would not be agitating it. And the Sun was also with the moon, so it was right next door to Mercury, and there was no Sun conjunction. So it was a Venus-Mercury conjunction, which is delighted, in Cancer, which stars Mercury. So not a great Mercury, an average Mercury. But no agitation at all on it. No control on that Mercury. And this person was such a delight to spend time with because they actually communicated. It was like, wow, what are you doing? This is weird, you know? You know, I grew up with a lot of Sun-Mercury conjunctions in my house, you know? I also grew up with a lot of waning moon to Mercury conjunctions or aspects in my house. I grew up with a lot of agitated Mercuries in my world, you know? And this person didn't, okay? They had a beautiful Mercury in the context of agitation. And I just thought this was really weird because I never really experienced it. They always asked me, do I want to? Everything started with, do you want to this? Do you want to that? Do you want to this? And next thing you know, I'm finding myself wanting to do all kinds of things that with another person I might not have wanted to do. But simply just to the fact that they would always say, do you want to? Do you want to do this? Everything started with an actual communication of, do you want to? Okay? Instead of, let's do this now, or we got to do this now, or any of that stuff. You know, it's like you could be in a burning house with this person, and they would say, "Do you want to get out of the house now?" You know, they wouldn't say, "We got to get out." They would ask. They would say, "Do you want to get out of the house now?" You know, it was that amazing. I know that sounds funny to say something like that, but wouldn't it be nice if someone actually took the time to communicate with you, even when the house is burning? The words are the same, right? One is, "We got to get out now," versus, "Do you want to get out now?" One makes you feel like an idiot. We got to get out now. It's like, yeah, duh, the house is burning. How could I not know that? What, don't you think I'm an idiot that you got to tell me we got to run out of the house because it's burning? Versus, do you want to get out of the house now? Which is respectful. You're safe. You're in control. You're in the sense that you can get out of the house at will when you want. It minimizes the feeling of danger. It doesn't make you feel like an idiot. It's a calming, pleasing way to say the exact same thing. Okay? So this is a huge problem we have in the world. Probably over it's over 1/3 of the people. Mercury with Sun is over 1/3. I should have to do the math to see how much. It might be 40-some%. It's like close to half the people in the world have a Sun-Mercury conjunction or something ridiculous. Which means most of us are spending our time, too much time, not necessarily all of our time, because we might have a Sun-Mercury-Venus conjunction, or Mercury might be in Libra or Taurus and delighted by Venus, which will help a lot. But either way, you've got almost half the world spending more time telling each other what to do instead of communicating what we want to do with each other. You know? And we're so quick to feel our rights taken away, especially if you have a Sun-Mercury agitation. You've spent your life having your rights taken away by people telling you what to do, instead of being asked and communicated the possibilities of what you can do. Because that's really what Mercury is about, always the possibilities. Are the possibilities of what can be done communicated? Or is it, this is what's being done, that's what's delivered? One feels good, the other one makes you feel like subhuman. Okay? Yet that's how we routinely talk to each other most of the time. Okay? I'm always shocked at this, how Sun-Mercury people, how I get this from them all the time. I'm always getting told what to do. Even they want to do nice things with me, I'm getting told I have to do something nice. It's like, what if I don't want to do that nice thing? Doesn't matter. I'm being told I need to do that nice thing. And I find people who've got that delighted Mercury without the Sun, they're just more doing the human thing of asking people questions of what they want. That's healthy. And if there's a Sun, Mercury, Venus or something, I find in some situations the person's jumping into, I have to tell you what needs to be done. And other times they're asking a lot. So they're doing a better job, you know. Not a perfect job by any means, but they're doing a better job. So really, with this Sun agitating Mercury, one of the important things that's going on is, are we in the habit of communicating? Or are we in the habit of stating? Or the habit of telling? Okay? Now, one of the interesting things about this, it's just such an interesting Avasta, is that one of the reasons we get in the habit of telling, because we were experiencing telling. Okay? So let's go back to the example. I said experiencing telling, not necessarily hearing telling, but experiencing telling. Let's go back to the example of someone who walks into your house with their shoes. So you get to your door, you take your shoes off, you walk in. They walk in their house. So you told them with your feet that we don't wear shoes in the house, that's why I took them off. And they said to you, I'm going to wear my shoes in your house. They're communicating to you that they're going to do this. They didn't ask you, oh, can I leave my shoes on? Or do you want me to take the shoes off? I don't wear shoes in my house. I don't even wear shoes outside most of the time, all right? When someone comes into my house, and if they come in without and just leave their shoes on after seeing me barefoot, I get mad at them. I'm like, how can you just come to my house and tell me how you're going to do with your feet and shoes? Okay? But the minute they say, oh, do you want me to take my shoes off? I'm like, it's really up to you. If you feel comfortable barefoot, you can, but if you feel better with shoes on, you can leave them on. And I feel good, and I feel friendship, and I feel like I'm getting treated well. Okay? But wow, when someone just doesn't even ask me that, just keeps their shoes in, I'm like, I don't want to, I'm going to put like too much yucky something in their dinner that night. You know, I'm going to spice up their food and make it bad. I don't like that. It's insulting. See, we're getting told that other people are constantly telling us what they're going to do to us, what they're going to do in our house, in our life. Instead of just asking us, what would we like? And the great thing is when we ask what we would like, well, what we would like respect. That's all. So by asking me what if it's okay if you leave your shoes on, I'm getting respected. And you can wear your shoes. I don't care. You can wear golf shoes. It doesn't matter at that point. So without the Sun-Mercury, with the Sun-Mercury agitation, we're constantly getting disrespected in communications. We grew up being disrespected in communications. We get nonverbal communications that make us feel disrespected. And then, of course, we're going to disrespect them, usually with verbal communications. So you can see how prevalent of a problem this Sun Agitating Mercury is, and how many situations in our life that with lack of happiness and peace with people come from this simple agitation. It's such a common problem, and it's a big problem. And of course, in what areas are we going to tell people what they should do the most? In what areas are we not going to communicate but tell? In the areas that we're skilled in, that we're capable in the Buddhya Aditya areas. So we're good at this. So of course, that's what we start telling other people to be good at, instead of asking them, do you want to be good at it? I'm good at being barefoot. Okay, so I can tell people to be barefoot. But first I need to find out, do you want to know about being barefoot? Do you want to go barefoot? You know? Telling people something that they don't want is cruel. And then they're getting agitated. So this feeds off each other. It goes these vicious cycles of people treating each other badly on a regular basis because we're telling instead of asking people. And when we ask people, most people don't have preferences about most things, you know? But when we don't ask people, people get upset about most things very quickly. So this creates a huge disharmony in our world, okay? Okay, that's one huge aspect. In the bad habit of telling instead of communicating. Now, one of the other problems with Mercury, Mercury is the legal guy. He's the lawyer, he's the judge, he's the law, he's the rules. Okay? The rules, you know, how the right way to do something is Mercury. The fair way to do something. The law is fair, supposedly, impartial. That's the idea of the law. All these things, all these rules, all these laws are all Mercury. Now when you add them to the Sun, now you're managing the rules. You're managing the law. You're managing the right way, let's say. Okay? You're dictating the law. And the law is fairness. You're trying to live the law. You're trying to play things fairly. So one of the problems of a Sun-Mercury conjunction is a person's in the bad habit of playing fairly. I know, bad habit of playing fairly. Because remember your mom used to say, now play fair with your sister. It's like, all right, I'll play fair, right? Playing fair is what it's all about until it becomes a bad habit. Now what's a bad habit? A bad habit is thinking that this constant way of being will make your life work. So if I constantly am chewing on a carrot, my life will work until I get vitamin A toxicity. Then it's going to stop working. Okay? So, a bad habit, anything we do all the time is a bad habit. So if we're always playing fair and thinking, by playing fair, life will work out, that's a bad habit because it's not true. Sometimes playing fair, life works out. Sometimes playing fair, life doesn't work out. Especially for people with a Sun-Mercury conjunction. They're agitated, they're angry, they're frustrated, because when they play fair, it doesn't work. So how do they try to control the situation to make it work? By playing fair. By playing fair, I dictate the outcome. That's the Sun-Mercury conjunction on a whole nother spectrum. Because when I play fair, it works. So by controlling the outcome, by playing fair, I control the outcome. And that's what the Sun agitating any planet wants to do. It feels it's been cheated, and it's going to find a way to control it, and the way to control it is by playing fair. Okay? Oh, do I wish with the Sun-Mercury conjunction that playing fair worked. I think one of the most painful lessons I've ever had to learn in my life is that playing fair doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Things work when they work. They don't work when they don't work. Fairness has nothing to do with it. And with the Sun-Mercury conjunction, playing fair is just another tool in the arsenal of control that will cause things to not be right. Okay? Especially when in playing fair, we decide to dictate what's fair. Oh, this is the right way. This is the fair way, so we have to do it this way. Instead of just saying, how do you want to do this? Things would work a lot better if we simply said, do you want to do this? How do you want to do this? Instead of saying, let's do this the fair way, and I'll take control, and we'll do it the fair way, and everyone will be happy. It doesn't work that way. It works when we respect, and we say, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? When we communicate and ask questions of the other. Okay? Some people think that telling people is the way to make things work. They'll say, oh, by telling you what I want, things will work. By telling people what you want, what are you doing? You're controlling again. Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Give it to me or else. That's what you're saying. You're controlling the situation. Things never work by telling people what we want. You know? If you are with this combination, lots of times that's another thing that happens. It's fair if I get what I want and you get what you want. So I'm going to tell you what I want and take control and tell you what I want, and now you never want to see me again. Why? Because it doesn't work. What works is to say, what do you want? Do you want to do this? That's what works. Because by doing that, we're respecting the other person and saying, what do you want? I want to respect what you want. Okay? By telling a person what we want, we're saying, you're here to fulfill my want. You're a tool, you're an object, a thing to fulfill my want. Okay? So when we engage in working communication is asking what the other wants. And saying, oh, I want this, and then what do you want is not working communication. Oh, I want this, and it's only fair that I give you something. That's not working communication. It might be fair, but it's not working. It's not a relationships of any kind like that will not work. But simply saying, what do you want? Oh, I just want this from you. It's just this little thing. That's all you want? Yeah, it's really all I want. Wow. And then that person says back, What do you want? Oh, I want this, this, and this. And the other person could say, gosh, I would love to give you that, that, and that. The other person go, really? You want to give me this, that, and all you want is this? Yeah. But that's a really good deal for me. That's not fair. It's all right. Why does it have to be fair? You know what I'm saying? That's a working situation. Because it's not about being fair. It's not. It's about working. And that happens through this kind of healthy communication. Okay? If you get what you want, and I get what I want, and you give me 10 times more than I give you, but we're both getting what we want, that's a great relationship. Or vice versa. Because we're both getting what we want. Why do I have to want the same much as that person to trade with them? Right? Because otherwise it's not a fair trade? No. I have to get what I want. They need to get what they want. If we both get that, doesn't matter how much wants are on either side. You know? If we're treated respectfully. But you bet, if that person wants 5 things and we only want 1 thing, and we give them 5 and they give us 1 and then they disrespect us, oh, we're going to say, oh, you got 5 things, I only got 1. Then we make a big deal out of that. But we're treated respectfully, we don't give a fuck about that. Okay? And being treated respectfully means communicating with want. Do you want me to wear the shoes in the house? What do you want to do? Do you want to do this with me? You know? That needs to be the first words out of our mouth towards anyone. But the minute we say, oh, we have to do this, or I want this, no, it's not a working situation. And that's what the Sun agitating Mercury does. Okay? It tries to dictate. I'll get what I want, they'll get what they want, it'll be fair, and it'll all work. It won't. Saying those things never works. If you say, I want this, it's not going to work. You have to wait for the person to say, what do you want? Do you want to do this? And if they never ask, you know what you do? You leave. That proves right there it's a non-working situation. If a person doesn't ask you what you want, they're wrong for you. It's that simple. People who don't ask others what they want are useless in your lives. They're only going to cause you pain. Okay? So, then you have your answer. That person's not a working person. It's not a working situation. Okay? Whatever the kind of relationship it is. And Mercury, of course, is a hugely social planet. He's the foundation of all of our relationships. He's the planet that allows all of our relationships to succeed or fail. Okay? One of the other things that happens with trying this idea of being in the bad habit of thinking that being fair works, okay, is, again, things work because they work, not because it's fair. So instead of hanging on, doing the fair thing, because you think playing fair works, and getting frustrated with things not working, it's important to try something. If it works, great. If it does not work, okay. It won't work. And no amount of fair or right will make a difference. So again, instead of being in the habit of trying to do the fair thing, get in the habit of trying different things. That's what Mercury is all about. Because at the end of the day, Mercury has no sense of right or wrong. He's an absolute indecent planet. He's just trying to find what works in this situation. Okay? What do I need to do to make this situation work? Oh, that didn't work? Let me try this. That fair thing didn't work? I'll try the unfair thing. It's amazing to me how often the unfair thing works. You know? If it's done respectfully, the unfair thing will work way better than the fair thing done. Especially when the fair thing is rarely done respectfully when you have a Sun agitating Mercury involved. Okay? So try something different. The only thing that may make a difference is to try something different. Duh. It's like so basic. So again, it comes down to developing the good habits of trying things, seeing what happens, and proceeding from there. And the most important aspect of trying different things is communicating different things. Do you want to do this? Do you want this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? How many things can you throw at a person about what they might want to do? Okay? A lot of times, people don't know what they want. So if you just say, in fact, I'd say most of the time people don't know what they want. And you know the people who usually don't know what they want the most are the people who are stepping up to the bat and saying what they want. They're the ones who know what they want the least. They think they know. But they are trying to think they know because they know the least. And as they live their lives and have experiences, Mercury, they start to realize, oh wow, I like this instead. Oh wow, this is what I like. I would never have thought so. Here I wanted this whole life, and now I'm happily living this life. That's the fun wake-up call for them. Okay? So, oh gosh, what was my point there? Okay, so the point I'm making is asking a person, what do you want, doesn't work a lot of the time. It seems like you should ask a person, what do you want? And there's a point you should ask a person, what do you want? But realize, most of us don't really know what we want until we hear it. Because in our own pain and suffering, we create these illusions and ideas of all this bullshit we want. None of it's real. We know what we want when we get an opportunity for it. Because when we get an opportunity for it, that's when our inner voice can say yes or no. See, when we're with this combination, the Sun Agitating Mercury, when we're telling people what's fair, and we're telling people what we want, and how it's fair if we both get, I'll get what I want and you get what you want, it's all fair, we're not listening to our inner voice. We don't listen to our inner voice when we're saying what we want. We listen to our inner voice when something shows up and we go, yes, I want that, or no, I don't want that. So by saying to a person, do you want this, do you want this, do you want this, you're giving their inner voice an opportunity to go, yeah, actually that is what I want. I'm surprised I wanted it. Okay? But if you say to a person, what do you want? Their inner voice can't respond to that. That's a complicated question. The inner voice responds to yes and no questions, and yes and no questions only. Okay, it's yes or no. My energy likes that idea, and it can embrace it in some way. It can focus on it in some useful way, or it can't. Yes or no. That's our true being. So, it's usually pointless to ask a person what they want until you've gotten to this point that you've been asking and you get nothing, and then you ask. And they're going to say what they want. And what they're saying they want is not the ultimate answer. It's the beginning of a possible very long conversation that's going to help them get in touch with what they really want, and which will be solidified when you say, do you want this? But you'll find the thing they say they want the most right there, a lot of times it's not it. They might be convincing themselves it really is, but it's really not. In the sense that it's not what their inner voice is saying yes. Because the inner voice can't do that. It only knows when it comes, if it wants it or not. So, we help a person develop their inner voice by asking them yes or no questions. Do you want this? Do you want that? I remember, like I said, the first person that came up and was like totally in that groove 100% of the time. I was shocked. 100% of the time, do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want to do this? It was like, this is weird, but wow, this feels good. Oh yeah, I want to do it. Oh, no, I don't want to do it. And it was like so smooth and effortless. It just made everything effortless. Okay? So, it's an amazing thing how this kind of healthy communication makes all the difference. Now, for it to work, though, you have to be able to hear no to your answers, to their questions, or to the answer. So you can say, do you want to do this? They might say no. Do you want to do this? No. Do you want to do this? No. All right. Just keep asking options until finally, if you run out, say, well, what do you think you want? And that, a key word here, what do you think you want? Think means, okay, we're starting a process of discovery and possibly a long communication to figure out what you really want. And we'll resolve it finally by, when we think what it is, I'll ask you, do you really want that? Do you want to do this now? And see if they say yes or no. Because we might be convincing ourselves for 2 hours of conversation that we want something that we really don't want. We do this stuff to ourselves. Why? Because we're not used to being asked what we want. So we're not used to listening to our inner voice. And this Mercury planet, the Sun Agitating Mercury planet, or Avasta, is so much a part of this, of not being asked what we want, but being told what's going to happen, and us telling other people how it's going to be, and playing fair, none of which is based on any truth. It's not based on any truth at all. Playing fair is bullshit. It's not based on truth. Truth is, I have the energy for this, you have the energy for that, and we have to use our energy. So I have the energy to do 10 things, and you have the energy to do one thing, and we both get what we need out of that exchange. That's a working exchange. You know? It's like you got two pickup trucks. One's a little pickup truck, the other one's a semi-truck. And they're going to go move furniture. You know? Alright, so you put the delicate vases in the back of the pickup truck, and you put all the rest of the shit in the semi-truck. And then you get your job done, and it works. You don't try to give the pickup truck half this load. Right? And it's like that with people too. Okay? So we really have to reorientate our whole thinking about what's fair, what's working. What's working is 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, the people that are on a journey together, finding respect and worth in that journey. And this is the most common reason it doesn't happen, is Sun Agitating Mercury. See it all the time, okay? So, the good habit of try things, try what works. And with Mercury, what works so often comes out of our mouths. It's not working because the wrong words are coming out of our mouth, okay? This has been like the most interesting Avasta to learn about ever. Because before I even knew the Logitati Avastas, I just saw this Sun Combust Mercury Copy, which is the Logitati Avasta. I didn't even know that Copy Avasta was based on a conjunction. I just thought it was combust. So this whole journey, you could say, started with what happens when Sun combusts Mercury. And wow, I noticed some things. And I talked about it in the combustion course. It's in Vault of the Heavens. And I talked to hundreds of clients, and they all were like, wow, that helped me so much. And then I realized that Copy was when the sun's with the planet anytime. And that Copy Diptati Avasta is also the same as agitated Logitati Avasta. And I keep learning more about this Avasta. You know, I added a lot of new things in this course that I didn't talk about in the course from, 3 or 4 years ago, and which I wasn't covered in the course from 5 or 6 years ago. Okay? It's just a really critical planet. It has a lot of different tangents on it, a lot of different ways that we could be misusing our Sun agitated Mercury. Okay? But it all comes down to it, again, with any Mercury, we're in the bad habit of trying to make something work in a one-dimensional way, by playing fair, by saying, oh, this is what will work, instead of a multi-dimensional way. Do you want this? No. Do you want that? No. Okay? Through communication first, and not saying what we want. Okay? Saying what we want is a certain way to get in trouble. We'll be seen as the most selfish person on earth if we're constantly saying what we want. But we ask people, what do you want? What do you want? Like that person that kept asking me would always say, what do you want? Wow. That person, I couldn't say no to that person. You know, it was like, I was treated so respectfully. It was like, I wanted to give them every possible thing I could. You know? That person had the ability to get a lot out of me. You know, and I was surprised. Wow, I actually can't say no. I want to say yes. You know? And it was a really pleasant surprise. So human relationships can work so much more beautifully when we have a nice Mercury. And this was like my first experience of spending time with someone who had a nicely communicated Mercury, in the sense of Mercury not agitated. It wasn't perfect, but it was with Venus, which made up for the starvation of Cancer. It wasn't a perfect Mercury, but it wasn't agitated. And I think of my life, and I just realized, wow, I really had grown up before that place in a world of Sun agitating Mercuries, if not Sun and Moon agitating Mercuries. Okay? And it was a real kind of an eye-opener, first step into this new world of how people can operate much more effectively together than I had seen or experienced before in my life of agitated Mercuries. And what's really interesting, a lot of my life, I've been around extremely agitated Mercuries. So, Mercury's agitated, and there's something else, the Mercury and whatever, they're in bad dignities or something, there's just something else going on that's ugly too. So like the worst kind of agitated Mercuries. And so it's something that's important to look at. It's critical to examine this in yourself and others because it's prevalent. It's a prevalent, almost 40-some% of the problem in people. It's the most common problem you're going to run into, and I hope by my examples you can see, yeah, I work the same way. I don't like to be told what to do. I like to be asked what I want. And yeah, if you're really honest with yourself, I don't really know what I want to do until someone presents it. When they present it, not with pressure, not with, and if you don't, you're in trouble. I remember going to visit my grandma, and she would be like, oh, do you want to have dinner? And she would come out with this scary looking stuff. Her voice was like, no way. And of course I couldn't say that because I would get in trouble if I said that. So, you can't ask for what they want and get upset with them if they say no. When you ask them what they want, you have to be happy to hear them say no. Why? And only a non-agitated Mercury can do this. Why? Because by them saying no, you figured out the Mercury thing. You investigated something they wanted. You found out they don't want it. So now you've eliminated something. That's what Mercury wants to do. He wants to eliminate. He wants to eliminate. So he eliminates this. Do you want to do this? No. Okay, good. I eliminated that. Let me ask something else. Do you want to do this? No. All right, I eliminated that too. Yes. I'm making progress here. This is not a negative thing. This is positive forward motion of eliminating the things you don't want. That's Mercury's job in the first place. Then it gets to the point like, geez, I don't have any more questions. I've asked everything I could think of that they want, and they said no to all of them. So what am I going to do now? I got nothing else to offer them. Then you could simply ask the grand finale of all questions and say, do you want to talk about what you want? Right? So it's just an amazing thing when a Mercury is working. Like I said, when you grow up in a world of bad Mercuries, surrounded by bad Mercuries, agitated Mercuries like I did, it is an amazing thing to watch a functional Mercury, And I don't know if I still understand defective Mercuries. It's like I'm always meeting people with shitty Mercuries, with agitated Mercuries that are throwing me for a loop, that are throwing me into my own bad Mercury patterns of my own, And it was so nice to have an experience at one point in life where there was never a bad Mercury experience with that person the whole time in that communication. And it made it feel like, God, this could be so easy. But then it's a two-way street. And then I have more people around me with agitated Mercury, and it's really, really hard to manage my agitated Mercury because when I'm dealt with in this way, my response, of course, is to deal with it in the way I was taught. When I was dealt with in a healthy way, it's like, oh, wow, well, now what? What do I do in this situation? Just observe myself and watch. Wow, I like this. This is good, But one of the problems with these Avastas, when we re-experience the negative type of stuff that set the Avasta, we always want to respond with the negative Avasta. That's when we really have to break the habit. That's like, why did you start smoking cigarettes during the war? Because I was stressed out. So now every time I get stressed out, I want a cigarette, right? It's the same thing. It's the time we have to really work the hardest on breaking our habits is when we're confronted by the same thing that created that bad habit in the first place, that caused us to cling onto that bad habit in the first place. Okay? So that's why having experiences with different people is so important to learn the different ways we can function. Okay? So if you've got a shitty agitated Mercury, you should go on a dating site or any kind of site and a friend site, whatever, and look for people who have, say, I want a person who, I need to check your chart and I want your Mercury to be like this. I just want to hang out with you and see what it's like. Okay? And ideally make sure they don't have a shitty moon, because shitty moons, moon is the father of Mercury. You get a starved moon, you get an agitated moon, and a person's got a great Mercury, they'll ask you what you want. And if you say no, they might never ask you what you want again because they feel so rejected when they hear no. Their moon feels, oh, you don't want me. It's like, no, I don't want that thing. And so with those people, they can really easily feel rejected when you say the no. Okay? So try to find someone who has a decent moon. And just see how differently they might treat you than the people you grew up with if you had a bad Avasta. And really the same said for any bad Avasta. Whatever bad Avasta you have, go and hang out with the person who has that planet in a good Avasta and watch how they work. And go, oh wow. So you've got a shitty Jupiter? Go hang out with someone with a good Jupiter. Oh wow. I can see why their life works. Because they're doing this Jupiter thing that is foreign to me. Whatever planet it is. Or Saturn. You got a shitty Saturn. Find someone with a good Saturn. And watch them, observe, and learn the difference between a healthy, functioning planet and the other. It's really fun. Okay. Enough on that, I think. So again, to recap on the Sun agitating Mercury when it comes to how it's hiding our inner voice. We can't hear our inner voice if we're controlling, if we're dictating, if we're telling. We only can hear our inner voice in response by waiting for something to come our way. Okay? And I think Sun agitating Mercury is one of the primary responsible things for robbing people of their inner voices by so many people having this, making other people feel like they don't have a choice in what they say. That they'll get, that even when they ask them, do you want to do this? They're scared to really say it because they feel like they'll be looked down upon, they'll be laughed at, who knows? They'll be judged or something if they say no. Okay? Because that's the kind of energy that set this in motion in the first place. Okay. And then, of course, just stepping away from that habit. So I'm going to get in the habit of communicating. I'm going to get in the habit of asking what people want. I'm going to stop playing fair. I'm going to focus on what other people want. Okay? The beautiful thing about Mercury is it's the planet of Vishnu. Vishnu is the absolute aspect of God that manifests as everything. Okay? That's really the bottom line to look at for Mercury. So if I want these 10 things and they want those 30 things, there's 40 things wanted here. So by all of those 40 things being given and taken, Vishnu is enjoying 40 things. That's a good deal. It's all right if 10 of those things are enjoyed as this version of Vishnu, and 30 of those things are enjoyed as that version of Vishnu. As long as this version of Vishnu is enjoying the 10 things it needs to enjoy, and this version of Vishnu is enjoying the 30 things it needs to enjoy, it's a fair and healthy relationship. If that situation was created with respect and asking and tolerance to hear a no. Hearing no. You can't even begin to communicate healthily with people if you can't stand hearing no. If you're going to shut down, get hurt, get angry, if someone says no to something when you ask them if they want this, or you feel rejected, then you have to work on that whole situation first. Because the healthy habit is, one of the things about Sun agitated Mercury, we so easily feel rejected. Okay? We feel like what we're offering is a failure. Again, it's an option. When you get a no, that's a positive thing, because it lets you know what they don't want. So you're one step closer to finding out what they do want. So make a game of it. Mercury's a game player. He's in the good habit of playing a game. I'm going to find out what you like by telling you 100 things you don't like. Okay? And I'm hoping that I can find out what you want before I get through the whole list of 100 and see what kind of score I get. If I can get it on the third one, that's a really high score. Okay? But if I get it on the 99th one, that's a shitty score, and I want a really good score today. So I'm really going to think about what I want to ask you're going to want. That's how Mercury is. He makes a game of it. It's fun to him. All right, it's not that. Oh, I lost the point. Okay, let me try again. It's not like, oh, they're saying no to me and my entire soul and my entire being, and they never want to see me again. They just said no, they don't want to do that one thing. So now you know that. Now you can make progress with them. You are making progress with someone every time they say no. Okay? That's the good habit you need to get into, to realizing that. Okay, enough on that. I hope that will cover this critically important Avasta. Thank you.